Hey, MathKook here. This video contains one of many examples in my Algebra 2 library. The rest of those examples, along with hundreds of other videos, are only available at mathkook.com. Let's MathKook it up. Hey kooks, this question says, find the slant asymptote, if any, for the function f of x equals x squared plus 4x minus 8 all over x minus 1. So how do we find a slant asymptote for a rational function? Well, let's take a look at how to find the horizontal asymptote and look at the case where there is a slant asymptote. So whenever you have a rational function, you want to multiply out everything on top and everything on the bottom, and then you look for your highest exponent of x on top, which is going to be m. And then the highest exponent of x on the bottom is going to be n. So the case where there's a slant asymptote is when it's top-heavy, meaning that m is greater than n. So in other words, the exponent on top is greater than the exponent on the bottom. So let's see if that's what we have here for our f of x. So notice the exponent on top is 2, and the highest exponent of x on the bottom is 1. So yes, this is top-heavy, so m, 2, is greater than n, which is 1. So we'll go ahead and write that here. So this is our m value. So m is 2, and then the bottom, I'll kind of draw right there. So that exponent there would be n equals 1. So this is definitely top-heavy. So it is going to have a slant asymptote, and there will not be a horizontal asymptote. So how do we find our slant asymptote? Well, here are our steps. So we're going to do long division, and then step number 2, we're going to ignore the remainder, and step number 3, the slant asymptote is the quotient. It's just y equals whatever the quotient is. All right, so let's go ahead and do our long division here. So x minus 1. And then we have x squared plus 4x minus 8. All right, and then we would fill in gaps if there are any gaps here. But since it's x squared, x, and a constant, there are no gaps here, so we're all good to go. So our first step in long division is take our leading term and divide it by the leading term here. So we will have x squared over x. So I'll do that on the left here. So x squared over x, that'll equal x. So we put that up top. Then we distribute this x here back into our dividend here. So we multiply x times x, which gives us x squared. And then we multiply x times negative 1, which is negative x. And then just like any other long division problem, we subtract. This one's a little different because there's two terms there. Normal long division just has one term, but this one has two, so this negative will distribute to this term and this term. Notice the x squareds will cancel, as they always should. If they don't cancel, that means we did something wrong. So now we have 4x, and then minus x, so that's plus x, so 4x plus x gives us 5x. Then we bring down the negative 8 here. Then we do the process over again. We divide this leading term divided by this leading term. So that'll be 5x, I'll do that on the left here, over x, which just gives us 5. So that means we have a plus 5 here. So we're going to distribute this 5 to both these terms. So we'll have 5 times x, which is 5x, minus 5 times negative 1, which is negative 5. And again, we subtract. The 5x's are going to cancel here, and then we're left with negative 8 minus 5, which is plus 5, so negative 8 plus 5, which gives us negative 3. So our remainder is negative 3. But remember our steps, though, we don't care about the remainder. So we are going to ignore the remainder. So the quotient here is our slant asymptote, so step number 3. So whatever the quotient is, that is our slant asymptote. So in this case, our slant asymptote is going to be y equals x plus 5. So I'll write here our slant so it would be y equals x plus 5. So there is our equation of our slant asymptote. And kind of doing a loose little graph here. If we did our slant asymptote on a graph here, we'd go, the y-intercept would be 5, and then we'd go up 1 over 1, and so on. So I'll put a point here, here, here. So eventually, it will look like this here. So our slant asymptote will be up and to the right with a slope of 1. All right, so there is our slant asymptote, y equals x plus 5. Hey Kook, if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. For unlimited access to all of my Algebra 2 videos, visit mathkook.com. Thanks for watching.